he mentioned, and we've talked about for nuclear increases around the world. Obviously, it's hitting the global supply chain. Can you share how that growing demand is impacting fuel services? Because you see that directly, and you can think broadly also about supply chain if you have other comments.
Well, I'm certainly glad that Fatih made it. I think I will invite him to our next shareholders meeting to tell them about the increase in electricity around the world, because we see the same thing. We see the need for not just any electricity, clean electricity is what most countries and companies are asking for. So for us in Cameco, on the Cameco side of our business, we're all about nuclear fuel and fueling the reactors that Elizabeth and Cosman are running and are going to be running into the future. And so when we hear at COP28 in Dubai, we were there, tripling of nuclear power over time. Maybe that's too much. Maybe it's only double. Okay, we'll take that too. Double. That means on the fuel side, we have to double the fuel. That means we have to double the amount of uranium we're producing, the conversion, the enrichment, and the fuel fabrication. And let's add to this now. Let's talk about it. There is a bifurcation in the world right now as to where your fuel comes from. It's not just, are you buying clean, sustainable, reliable fuel? Where's it coming from? Well, after the Russian move into Ukraine, there were a lot of countries and companies put sanctions on that fuel and said, we're not buying from them. So all of a sudden, 30%, 40% of the enrichment capacity in the world, about 29% of the conversion capacity, 17 or 18% of the uranium, is off limits to a lot of countries and companies. So now you have, who are you buying from? And so that's where, we stepped in. We saw all of a sudden there's a bit of a shortage. And Maria, you and I worked on crisis committees on fuel right away, saying there's not enough conversion. The price of conversion, so you take, we mine uranium. It's a rock, we mine it, turn it into yellow cake. Then you have to convert it to a gas. So that's called conversion. The price of conversion 5 years ago was about $6, $7, $8, $9 a kgu, kilogram of U of 6. Today I think it's 70. I mean, that's what happens when you have a tightness in supply. Now it's temporary. Over time we'll build out new supply and new supply ready, but that's where it goes. And so we need to be ready in the conversion, and then there's enrichment is next. That's a tricky part of our business that not many countries have, because if you use it in the wrong fashion, it can not work out very well. So that there's enrichment, and that was short as well, because a lot of countries were relying on Russia for enrichment, and then they couldn't. And so, but again, you can build new conversion facilities, you can build new enrichment facilities, but uranium, you either have it or you don't. You can pass all the government policy you want that says, well, we shall mine uranium somewhere. If it's not there, you can't mine it. And so it's going to be tight all through the system, but I will tell you, we will have the fuel available. As we see the build-out, as we see new units being built in Romania, we will have CANDU uranium ready for Cosman and his team when he needs it, because we have enough time. Not many countries sneak a uranium or a nuclear plant onto the. We know when they're coming. We usually have 5 to 6 to 7 years visibility, so we can say, well, then we better have fuel ready in 5 or 6 or 7 years for those reactors. So everybody has to work together. We're all in this. It's a small field, all of us. We're all in it together. If Elizabeth comes up with their new model of reactor, then we have to make sure we have the fuel for her that's ready to go. So it's a small industry, but we're all in it together, and we'll make sure it works because the world needs it.
Thanks for that. You did mention, enrichment can be challenging, and I'm thinking when you and I were at the Sapporo Energy Minister meeting, and one of the papers that was signed there, we called it the Sapporo 5, but it was the countries that were going to work together on fuel supply, right? And that was Canada, United Kingdom, France, Japan, and the United States that committed to the vision. If we want more nuclear, let's make sure also that we have the fuel supply to support it. I can say that in the United States, we've seen the effect of that. President Biden signed a bill several months ago offering $2.72 billion towards the fuel supply. And so that was really part of that Sapporo 5 commitment that the United States made. So we're definitely seeing the beginnings of that investment. But I do take heed that you said, yeah, you get the money, but it's still going to take you a couple of years, right, until you have some of these up and running. But it's encouraging that we're at least sort of seeing the beginnings of that, if you will.